It was a production of Elf
Uh-huh.
that I was directing, and at a community theater. And basically, I when we applied the projections, because it wasn't day one that we applied the projections, they come later, right? Once you start putting it, introducing some of the technical elements, is that it in a positive way started driving blocking decisions.
Mm.
And because for instance, there were signs in the projection, like North Pole this way, and like different, like those very typical
Yeah.
wooden arrows, right? That there's a very standard look, but it was they were very good looking projections that had these embedded features already in them that were
Mm.
opposite of what the blocking was. And I had not uh, been introduced to the projections until a little after we started blocking, because we were kind of shopping around with which ones would be best suited for this production. And so when we started introducing some of the projections, where was the tree in one of the scenes, the Christmas tree, it was basically out of, not within the world that we were creating as far as the blocking was concerned, not thematically necessarily, but and so that taught me to um it almost taught me, which as elementary as it sounds, to like do my homework a little bit more thoroughly,
Mm.
with what images am I going to be adopting for this production, so that I'm not re blocking, redirecting. um and so that was a big learning curve for me, because up to that point, anytime we used projections, it was almost central, right? It was very, the focal point was in the center of the image, and there were some things off to the side, but the idea of like Rockefeller tree was center, and then there were other things happening on the side. So blocking wise, it didn't affect too much. But in this particular show, for this particular show, that wasn't the case. The
Mm.
tree was kind of off to the side, and it was meant for them to come on stage and be like, and point, kind of like, there was a purpose to it, right?
Right.
And you mentioned the word storytelling. There was an element of storytelling that the images were trying to drive that I
Hmm.
just had not ignorantly included in my initial work when directing that show. So that's one of the big things. That has nothing to do with the projections, the creation of them themselves, or the projector or anything like that. But as far as the director is concerned, it was like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm including these things when I am uh, working with the actors and blocking. So I'm not wasting time on the back end with, we got to reblock this because the image is, you're kind of standing in the image and it doesn't make sense, right?
Right. Right.
Um, that was a big one. I don't know if that's necessarily what you were
Yeah.
hoping for, but
Well, it actually it sparks a couple things. One, like, is I mean, I think the way you were able to be flexible and work with
yeah,
that, I think speaks to how it's so important to figure this stuff out early on.
yeah,
Because if you kind of know that that's the projection is going to play a central role, and then you're willing to work around that,
right,
it obviously will make for the most vivid, most, beautiful image up there. If you want that to be more of a hero, because there's
right,
obviously sometimes where you want it to fall back a little bit more, and it's truly a backdrop, right? So
right,
it's not ever really supposed to be the focal point. But introducing it early, I think, is, if you could call it a tip,
yeah,
or a piece of advice. It's like, start thinking about this stuff even when you're starting to think about how you want to tell the story as a whole,
for sure.
whether it's through the colors and textures of the costumes, how your actors are acting, where they're standing, all of that stuff I think is going to help, as opposed to, and I mean, there's still a few folks that I still bump into how it can be a little bit, if not careful, of an afterthought,
Yeah,
where you get to the week before tech and you're like, okay, well, now we have to figure out how to make this projection, part work. And that
yeah,
can be a nightmare, but that would be true of any part of your show
hmm,
if you kind of waited maybe till later in the process. So it definitely speaks to that. And then the other thing it made me think of, Blake, is one of the things I encourage directors to do as early as they can is just
Yeah.
get something on the screen. I mean, my process still a lot of times starts with sketches,
Yeah.
whether they're napkin sketches or, I mean, just pencil and paper. And it helps so much sometimes for a theater director to just take something that simple
Hmm.
or to pull an image that you might not be using at all for your play or musical. It could be just an image off of Google or something
Right.
like that, and just get it up there and look at it. Kind of like when you're doing a costume lineup, it just helps to be able to react to it,
Right.
to see what it's doing to the scene color wise, to see, oh gosh, that's way too saturated. We probably need something that's much more of a black and white or sepia
Right.
because we really want the costumes to pop in this scene. Or, just that feedback that you don't get just from researching, you only get from reacting to what's there.
Right.